Hey there, it's Mackenzie, your host of Winning. We're looking for sponsors for the podcast. If you have a business that you would like to promote to thousands of people, send us an email at podcastwinning@gmail.com or send us a message on social media. I cannot wait to hear from you. Now on to the show.
Winning is your guide to making it in business. Join our award-winning host and entrepreneur, Mackenzie Kilshaw, and special guests in casual conversations that will educate and inspire you on your business journey. Winning will help you learn the hard lessons the easy way with guidance from celebrated entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's fun. It's informative. It's winning.
Hello and welcome to Winning. I am your host, Mackenzie Kilshaw, and today's guest is Tammy Zdunich. Hi, Tammy.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. I'm great.
Good. So just to let you know, if you do not know who Tammy is, she is a passionate entrepreneur. I must say multi-entrepreneur. She's got a lot of businesses, which we're going to talk about. And she's also a mental health advocate who, like women and everything to do with women, is Tammy. And when I know you, and so I can say this is definitely what you embody. She's co-founded multiple companies, as I said, so including Inner Illume. So that offers creative retreats for women. The Well Collaborative is a women's community for personal development and professional connection. And then Merge is photography and videography for women's brands. She's also the chair of You Are More, which is a mental health initiative for youth who experience sexual violence. So Tammy, thank you for being on. It's really great to see you. And I should just preface this before we always chat before we start hitting record, right? Which I feel like we should almost include those in the podcast. But Tammy's like, are you going to say how we know each other? I'm like, yeah, of course I am. So Tammy and I grew up together. She was, I think, 2 grades ahead of me.
Yeah, 2 years older. But yes. I still think you're 10. So by the way, I think you're 10.
I'm 25 in my own brain. And I know, I don't know how we're like, not just adults, but like full-fledged adults. We're not 25 anymore, people, but
25 to me. I'm 44, you're 25. You're like 20 years younger than me in my head, but you're 2 years younger than me.
But if I'm 25, you're 27. So
thank you.
Back up. Yeah, so Tammy and I are from the same hometown. I know we took dancing together, and like they say, like 2 years, you like hang out with each other. We were like the best of friends, but like you're at the same parties, you're at the same school things, you see each other all the time. And of course now with social media and everything else, I feel like I see Tammy all the time. I don't in person, but I definitely do online. So thank you, Tammy, for being on. And if you're from Kenaston and you're listening, you got 2 homegirls here for you.
What a bunch of lucky people today too, Kenaston.
I know, aren't they? Yeah. I should also mention too, I think when this airs will be right around a time. Tammy and I don't have this in my notes, but we were both, we're authors in a book. So
yeah, we're in the same book. That's how
we're in the same book. So Conversations Over Coffee. I don't know if it's out yet. Volume 3.
No, it's not out yet.
No, but when this airs, it might be out.
Thank you. It's out.
Yes, because we're ahead. I'm a very great entrepreneur. I record these like 6 weeks ahead so that I always have content. But
Mackenzie's a pro. You're a pro.
Well, it's just experience. You don't want to be stuck scrabbling ever. But yeah, so we're in this book, which is really cool. So there is I don't even know how many authors, like dozens, I think, that we each have a chapter. So look out for that. And we'll post that on social media too when that comes out, because I know it's going to be an interesting read for people.
This is some great PR decisions. Everything's kind of coming out at the same time. Super smart. Yeah. Look how this works out.
Look how smart we are by accident, but turns out to be really smart.
All planned. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So Tammy, of course I gave that your little like bio, but I know there's way more to you and to your life and everything. So why don't you just, in your own words, let the listeners know who you are and about your businesses.
Oh, yeah. I am a very highly visionary, creative person. I just always have ideas running through my head. It's so hard to not start them all. I tend to like run with things. And if I get tired of something, find a way to offload it or have someone else do it or just let it go. I think I'm a mother of 3, and my kids and my husband are definitely the most important to me.
Yep.
But also my women and my businesses, because
They're like your other kids.
They are. Like, I just feel as a woman, I never, ever, ever quit creating all through having kids. And I've never lost myself. I've always have been very passionate about just maintaining my identity, knowing that my kids, it's like this short period of time that they're really home with me before they kind of even start their own life. Like, they're 11, 13, and 16. And it's like, they're already on their way towards their own lives. So I think like not losing my identity and not having women lose their identity is something really important to me since I was in my 20s. And, like former dancer, like identified as a dancer. I was very, my faith is really important to me. I'm just grounded, but the reason I can be so kind of all over the place in a sense is because I'm so grounded in the things that really matter to me, like family, home, faith. Then that way I can do these other things and be creative because I'm not afraid of losing them or of change.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, being afraid of change is literally like no one's like, oh yeah, change. But if you just let it kind of be what it is, it's not scary. Right?
Yeah. It's not even change. It's just the moment. It's just accepting the moment for what it is. It's really, change isn't even really a thing. It's just that, it's just accepting the moment as the moments as they come. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. You think too, like the worst as human beings, we think of our first reaction is the negative and worst case scenario. Right?
Okay. I have to tell you a very quick funny story.
Yes.
So we're just hosting our Inner Illume retreat in this past May, and it's quite cold. The water's still quite cold at the time. And I'm on my dock with one of my business partners from Merge, Brittany. And we're standing on the dock, and I'm like, let's go and let's jump in. So of course we don't have our bathing suits. We got stripped naked, but don't worry. The lake it's a totally private lake. It's just, we're the only people on this lake. It's a beautiful lake. And we're standing on the dock, we strip naked. And I go, I'm just scared. What if I jump in, have a heart attack and die? And she's
well,
like,
you're dead then.
like, seriously, Tammy, you went from like, how about just what if you're cold? And I was like, okay, right, fair. I don't need to go to the absolute worst case scenario. So of course we held hands, counted down, jumped in, got out, jumped in again, got out. And it was like the best experience. It was such a great team building for her and I, because we're in a brand new company together.
Yeah. And you didn't die, which is the moral.
We didn't die. I'm here.
Yeah. Very few times do people die when they're faced with change, but that is your first reaction. Honestly, I'm the same as you, and I don't know what it is about my brain, but I go to the worst case scenario. Well, what if this happens? It's like, that's never going to happen. Yeah. 0.001% chance you could have had a heart attack and died. I don't know. I made that up, but
you know what happened then? I go home and I tell my mom how I jumped in the lake, and my mom, and you know what she says to me? Oh, you could have had a heart attack from the cold, honey. And then I'm like, this is where this comes from.
This is where it comes from.
This is where this comes from.
I think we're raising our kids differently though now, because it's not so, these are the terrible things that could happen to you. I think in the 80s and 90s, that was kind of how it was. Where I think now it's like, imagine what could come out of this. If you do it, it's an opportunity, right?
I like that better.
Yeah. It's just a different time, I think, is a lot of what it is. It's just physically a different time that we see all these opportunities instead of obstacles or problems.
Yeah.
Right?
And not making decisions based out of fear. Because even if the worst case does happen, at least you jumped in the damn lake. That was
exactly.
To live life. Like more living life fully rather than holding back based out of fear is like what we're teaching our kids, I suppose. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And I think too, like when we look at this as like a business sense, if you were like, I really want to do this next venture, I really want to start another business or a new business, I've never owned a business, I don't know what to do, like jump in, do it. Because guess what? The worst thing that happens, the absolute worst thing that happens is it doesn't work. And you're not dead.
It's only your ego gets hurt. It's only uncomfortable feelings. There's actually nothing bad that happens when you fail. No. I'm doing that in air quotes, when you fail, because there is no failing. It's just an experience, and it's just maybe uncomfortable. And even thinking about how other people receive it is, well, they might think something of me, but the only thing that will cause for me is to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. And guess what? Do you know what someone else is thinking about you? No,
No.
because they're thinking
You're
it.
making it up.
So who cares? We make up what other people, oh, that person probably thinks this, or people are going to say this about me. Who cares? It's not you. It's
And
what
they're not
someone
even thinking
else. No, it's what someone else. What does that have to do with me? Right?
I always say to my kids, I'm like, guys, no one's thinking about you. I hate to break it to you.
I know.
But like nobody's thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves.
I know.
Everyone's
Like,
thinking about themselves. And that's fine. It's not selfish. That's just human nature.
yeah. My gym just recently, the building got sold. So they merged with another gym. And another friend's like, oh, I don't know. There's going to be like lots of guys there. And like, I'm like, those guys are not looking at us. Those guys are looking at themselves in the mirror. They do not give a crap
They are.
about us. So who cares? And so what if they look at you? So what?
It's because you
like,
look good.
I know. I'm just like, who cares about them? But it's the truth. We really worry about other people, what they think or what we think they think. It's not even necessarily what they think, but that holds you back. And that's really a sad thought, that you're being held back before you even do anything.
Oh my, that is the main thing. I offer coaching, and the main thing that comes up, I mean, Mackenzie, do you offer coaching? You'd be just perfect for it. You're too busy.
I do. I'm getting into it a little bit more. I do a lot of it, I'll say on the side, like it's not my like career job, but I enjoy doing it. And it's personal experience that I've had. And it's like, you're not dead. Try it. Right.
Yeah. I am so like you. Oh my goodness. I didn't know that we were such kindred spirits in the way of just jumping into things without just experimenting and trying things and seeing what works, seeing what people resonate with, and then moving on from there.
Oh, 100%. And where you are at this exact point in time in your life is not necessarily where you're going to be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And I think that is, I mean, me personally, I built up a business and sold it, and never, ever, ever would I have thought I would have sold my business ever in a million years. But my life changed, right? And it just was,
okay.
Yeah, my store. So it was just one of those things that my life changed. COVID happened. I had an opportunity to get out of brick and mortar. I ran an online store. I had an opportunity to sell my online store, and I just did it. And then your identity changes slightly, because you're not now, oh, you're the girl that owns that store. Or girl, I say girl, we're 25, woman, I guess. But, my identity had to really change, which is an inner thing to deal with. But where I was 10 years ago and where I am now is very different. Mm-hmm. And everything I learned along the way helped me to grow and develop personally and professionally. But I didn't fail. Like, it was just change. Mm-hmm. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So my store now is online with a new owner, and there's no more brick and mortar stores, and it's just, it's different, right?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting just because you mentioned identity, when our identity gets wrapped up in something we do, and then we do feel that we have to do a shift in our sort of in how we think of ourselves. Because when I work with women, I always talk about their identity being something that it's who they are, but not what they do. And how do they really get in touch with who they are and not associate it with what they do? Like, my identity is not that I'm a mother. It is something I happen to do right now. And it may be forever and it may not. It depends on what happens with my kids. And, like when people lose a child, like, then are they no longer a mother and their identity shifts? Well, no, they're still who they are. That was just something they did for a period of time. So I do find that's why I always start with that. Cause I think women especially really and men too, actually, all people really associate their identity with that thing, whether they were like the football star in high school, or for me, the dancer, that's like, if you still identify as that and then you lose it, it feels like you lost a part of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's funny though, because you didn't lose it. It was just you at a point in time. Yeah. And now you're something else. You're a business owner. You're a mental health advocate. You're right. It's just, it changes. You develop and evolve as a person, right?
Yeah. And you carry all those learned experiences with you. And that's what makes you that more whole person. That's why I'm so pro jump in, because no matter what, you're going to be like, I don't regret what I've learned. It's always so good, even whether it's bad or good, it's like worth it.
A huge thank you to our sponsor, Just For You Day Spa and Wellness. Just For You is Canada's premier day spa with 5 locations in Alberta and Saskatchewan. The award-winning luxury spa features Leah Reese cosmetics and iconic Betty jewelry that you can also purchase online. Visit www.justforyoudayspa.com to book your service or to purchase a gift card. Do you know what you'll regret more is staying in a profession that you don't like and not jumping in? No, I'm serious. So really, it's great. When you look at it backwards, it sounds so ridiculous, but you will always regret not doing something over doing something.
Yeah.
Because at least you tried, at least you learned the thing, and maybe you found huge success in it. And it's a very happy thing, right? But even if it doesn't work out, you have those lessons, you have that experience to take with you to the next thing.
Yeah.
And if you've never tried it, you don't have it.
Especially in business, you almost need to be continually, even if you have your MBA, like no matter what you've gotten in terms of education, until you have that lived experience and actually are faced with the financials and the fear and the customer base and the marketing and all those things, you have to go through it to figure out how to do it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. You can learn a lot of lessons by people giving you advice, but you can learn a lot more by actually physically like being through that experience yourself.
Yeah. I feel like all my businesses that I launched more recently are sort of hitting this peak, like this really great place right now where we understand our client and we understand how to make money and we understand how to just do it well and how to talk about it. And I feel like that can take like 3 to 5 years to understand even just who you're selling to and how to sell it to them and how to help people in that, the people who need the help. And I feel like it is like, had I given up along the way, I wouldn't be now going, oh my goodness, I think I finally figured out this business or the retreat or the well, or like figuring out who they're serving and what they're for and how to make them sustainable and profitable.
Yeah. And the thing too is, once again, that can change. Yeah. Remember a thing called COVID? I mean, your retreats, you have them all figured out. They're a well-oiled machine. People love them. They keep coming back. They're bringing friends. Like, you have to come, and then stop sign, COVID. No retreat. Sorry.
Yeah, we went through that. We canceled we had to postpone our first one, I think once or twice. And then we finally had it. Oh my goodness. And it was so beautiful. But yeah. Oh yeah. And the well started in 2018. So we were only getting going when COVID hit. And then we were like, oh my goodness.
I know. And I think in our lifetime, we will not see another COVID moment, but there's things that happen that can stop you, right? Like a partnership doesn't work out. Or
had that.
Yeah, right? No, it's true. Or funding, like maybe your revenue was growing, and then it just slows right down. And you're like, whoa, we were used to making this much money. Now we're only making this much. So we have to change the amount of staff we have, or we have to come up with a new thing to sell, or whatever it is that you do, a new service. But you can be smooth sailing and all of a sudden you hit a bump in the road or whatever it is, roadblock, right?
I think that's why you have to, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you have to be okay with change to some certain extent. You have to either be okay with it or have tools that you can use when it happens. For me, I kind of thrive on it. Like when COVID happened, I was like, oh my goodness. I remember telling the women, the community, I was like, I've been waiting my whole life for this. Like, I feel like I've been preparing my whole life for like a terrible situation to happen, because I'm always almost, my adrenaline and anxiety is almost always preparing me for something, for the worst. And then when the worst happens, I'm like, I got this. And I really just roll into it like, I got this. I have to take care of the women. That's what my job is right now. And we really thrive. Like, we kept the community going. We thrived during COVID. It's just every time we switch to either more digital or more in person, it creates a learning and a pivot. And then we have to kind of figure it out, rebuild.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the part that's been hard. Yeah.
Yeah, but those moments happen, and then you'll figure it out, and then you're good for a while until you get the next thing, right? Yeah. And the next thing always comes. Like I always say, business owners, we're just problem solvers.
I love what's the next problem? Let's solve it. And I love when women come to me like with the happy creative coaching and they're like, okay, we have this problem. Like, let's solve it. What can we do? What do you need? Yeah. Like, how can I help? And if I can't help, how can I ask one of my 100 members to help? Like, I know someone, if not me. Then
exactly. Yeah. Cause we don't all know all the answers. And also as entrepreneurs, it's like the day you become an entrepreneur, something in your head tells you, I just know everything now. Or I should know everything now. I'm going to just try to do my own marketing plan. I think I'll be really good at it. You have zero marketing experience and no knowledge on it, but I'm going to do it because I'm an entrepreneur. So I should be able to do it. Or you can ask for help.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the opposite of that. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know who to ask and I know how to ask.
Yeah, well, that's the way it should be, right? Because we put pressure on ourselves that we should just know it. Or I have 10 years of experience as a business owner. I should know this. And then you actually are like, I don't have a clue what's happening. And you need to reach out, right?
Yeah. I think the most brilliant leaders and business owners are the ones who are just constantly checking in with themselves, being very self-aware, and then asking for help. Humble.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than a leader, really, that is like, we know what we're doing. And like everybody else is like, no, we don't. Get some help in here. And it's like, we're going to be fine. We're going to just do this, this, and this, and it's going to solve it. And it's like the writing's on the wall. And if they just asked somebody for an opinion or help or whatever, it would be over and done with, right? And that's a scary situation to be in.
Do you find there's differences because you would have more experience maybe working? I mean, you were mainly, your business was women, but in male versus female, like energy test, like hormones and stuff, like it's a different way that because women, from my experience, are highly collaborative and always willing to ask
for help.
But like, they don't seem to have the same problem or ego, like just saying, I feel like it's that male energy. Like I'm both male and female, right? Like I have my male side and my female side. And I think I do tend to lean a bit more towards my male side, probably, but the women I work with at the well tend to lean more into their feminine generally. And I wonder, and that's why they're attracted to it, I think. But I just wonder if there's like a difference in if you have any experience in a difference in how people behave in these situations with asking for help. Do you notice anything?
Yeah. Okay. You know what's really interesting? I've had many career jobs. Like after university, I worked at SaskTel for years, telephone company. Then I was a sales rep for a food and candy company. And then I had my own business. And now I still have my own business, but I also work for a tech company. Every single leader that I've had has been female. I've never had a male, like manager, leader, up, but never like who I directly reported to. So to be completely honest with you, I don't have any firsthand experience on that. I can tell you what happens in my marriage. Sure. I'm like, let's get someone to help us. And he's like, we can do it ourselves.
Okay, yeah, that is
right. So I think you're on the right, on the right track there. But yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'm trying to like remain curious and be open-minded about it. I just know that, is this like top behavior or is this more like testosterone? Because I know like higher, I have PCOS, so I'm higher in testosterone, and I know that I'm very direct and I'm very decisive.
I think too that it might maybe just a personality trait too, and maybe like because there are a lot of females that I've worked with in the past that are like, well, this is what we're doing, and you just go down that road, right? And others that are like, well, I'm not sure, let's test it out, or let's ask somebody else, and that could just be their personality, really.
Yeah, and I guess like probably we're all kind of all the things depending on the situation.
Yeah. You talked about collaboration, and I really want to talk a lot more about collaboration and competition and working together. And I am very much of the same mindset of you as when everybody wins. Like to me, and listen, in business, there's competition. That's just a natural thing. But the mindset of collaboration over competition, I think in the last like 5 years has just really skyrocketed. So let's talk about that. So just give it for people listening that they're like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Collaboration over competition. Give a synopsis of that. And then why is it so important? Let's talk about that too.
Mm. Yeah. So my point of view on it is probably more extreme than probably a lot of people. And I feel like that's most likely because in order to do the job I do with the Well Collaborative, I have to be a bit more extreme for me so that everyone can kind of, it's to swing the pendulum a bit, everyone can kind of fall into the middle. But for myself, it really means like holding things open handed. Like I'm open to having something come my way in terms of, let's say, even in the photography world or in the coaching world, but I'm equally open to giving it away to someone if it seems more of a fit for them. So for me, it's never like with the Well Collaborative with membership, I'm jumping around to businesses because they all have a bit of a different way that they intake, but it's all kind of the same. With the Well, like if someone is like, I don't know if that like the Well works for me or if I'll fit, I'm like, hey, I never want you to come unless it feels like a fit. Like nothing, like money is never, or a sale is never more important to me than that person making the decision that's the best for them. And I think you would understand that with selling clothes too, that's that same. So in terms of like competition, we do not, so at the Well, we want multiple women in the same industry so that they can help each other and give advice to one another. So we actually want them to like share tricks and tips. And I think what happened before was people thought, or I think it's more of a patriarchal issue, that power over issue, that like all for one kind of thing where I want it all for myself. I think that just brought in like a different mindset. And then I don't actually think that humans are really wired to work that way. I think we actually like want to sort of share more, or I think that we are more community oriented, at least women are for sure. So community over competition just means that I'm never going to prioritize my revenue or a job or a client over a relationship. So if like there's a photographer who is next, like right with me, and we're both up for a wedding and she gets it, then I'm going to be like, I'm so happy that you got that. That's so great. What a great fit for you that they chose you, trusting that I'm also going to get what I need in terms of clients. So it's, and you know what, I think it's really easy for people to kind of say, oh yeah, I'm community over competition, but I see it all the time, people who say it, but they struggle with it. It's a huge struggle for people.
I think too, and also our society is changing too, because it used to be like, you want to be first, you want to win, you want to be, and I think that's changing now with our kids, right? It's like everybody wins, which also makes a little far onto the other side. But I think that,
a little too, but
but I think the thing is that I think people are starting now to realize, if I don't need to tell another clothing store what my revenue is, but if I say we did this and it really worked out well, it helped us increase our client base, it helped us with our sales, whatever it is. If that person, it's not like stealing ideas. I think that's what people think. It's like, well, they're just going to use my idea and then all my customers are going to go there and then I'm going to lose. No, it's not. Because guess what? First of all, your customers were probably already going there. If you don't want to realize that, like you should.
People shop around.
People shop around, or people go to different restaurants, or people try different gyms. Like, you're not, sorry, but like those clients are not just only going to you. They're not.
It's a
very few are.
It's such a fear-based mentality. And I think this is what makes people sick, entrepreneurs and business owners and people who work sick, because they're living in this fear of like having to hold so tightly onto everything. And if they could just let it go and trust that it's going to work out for them, they would have a lot more peace, like in their day-to-day operations of their business, and then not get sick. Like I witnessed that we started the Well because I was witnessing women get sick left and right. And I still am all the time, who aren't acknowledging what their business is doing to their bodies because they're prioritizing it over their mental and physical health. I mean, you can't prioritize a business over yourself, or if you're gone, especially as an entrepreneur, you have no business. Like that's the point?
Thing.
You know?
That is exactly the thing, right? Yeah. If there's no you, or there's no one to be the leader at your business, you don't have a business anyway.
You don't have a business. And then the best thing you can do for yourself as a business owner is prioritize your health and wellness over your business, because that actually is way kinder to your staff and your clients.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you'll be around. So coming back to the community over competition, I have like a really kind of fun example that happened at the Well really early on. It was like year 1. And I had decided, like we talked about being a dancer, that I was going to have this, like, I'm going to become like the premier dance photographer in Saskatoon. I just decided I had this idea. Great. Start into it. I'm like, okay, so I get the models lined up. I get the studio booked. I have the clothing. I've got like Lori Brown's bringing in fashion. Like, we're on it.
Yeah.
I set the day and it's going to be on Saturday. Thursday is Coffee and Connection, which is an event we host every month at the Well. And Tanya Warner is there. I love Tanya so much. Shout out to Tanya. She's sitting there, and all of a sudden, I've shared this story a few times. All of a sudden, I am sharing like this idea that I have, and no, it's not that. Sorry. She is sharing what she's so passionate about, which is positive body image for dancers and how she wants to like photograph dancers. And it's this thing. And I've not told her that I have this day plan 2 days down the road.
Yeah.
And
you're like, I'm doing that Saturday.
Sitting there telling me this. And I all of a sudden look at her and I'm like, Tanya. And she's like emotional. And I'm like, I planned an entire dance shoot day for Saturday. And I'm just realizing now that like, I didn't plan that for myself. I planned that for you. Will you come and shoot that and have the content and like take it and run with it? And she did. She's like the premier dance photographer in Saskatoon now. But that's community over competition. I noticed in that moment, her dreams were actually more meant to happen than mine. And I actually had an idea that I was just the vessel for, that I could just create. And then she could come in and like, literally, here you go. Do it. That's the abundance of it. Like, that's like not fear-based. I mean, that's like borderline crazy, but it was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And had I thought, well, then I won't be able to. No, you're right. You won't be able to, Tammy. You're actually not. That's actually not what you're supposed to be doing.
But something else down the line, someone will say, I have this idea and I can execute it, but I think Tammy would be the perfect person to whatever it is. And it comes back to you. It's not,
it's constant.
That wasn't the right path for you in all reality, right?
Yeah. I love to create opportunities for other people and then give them away in that sense. Like, that's probably what I love to do more than anything, is create opportunities. And that's what the Well is. And that's what like Merge, my new company, is. And that's just that's what I do best. Also,
some people are really good at creating and other people are better at executing. So if you can create the thing and then pass it off, like, why wouldn't you? It's not anything less for you.
Oh, no, not at all. It's so rewarding. It's so rewarding to have all these little babies happening and people taking care of them and loving them and bringing them to life. It's so rewarding. It's so much more rewarding than holding tightly onto it for myself.
And the thing too is, when people in our community are better, whether that's, I say better, I mean happier, stronger, healthier, stronger, more revenue, whatever it is for you, when everybody is in that spot, guess what? Everybody's in that spot. Like, you're only helping yourself and everybody else. Right?
I know. Yeah. It's so cool it's collaboration is so cool. And I just want to clarify, collaboration doesn't mean not getting paid. Like, everyone should get paid. Like, when you do a collaborative job, I've done them every different way, but I feel the best way is when everyone just invoices and gets paid. Yeah. Because lots of times you trade services, and depends where you are in your career. If you're just starting out, trading is great because then you don't have to write a check. Tons of trading. You got to have boundaries. You got to know how to do it. But I was going to say, but the other part of that is, you can also invoice each other on your rate or whatever, or you can invoice each other the same amount and no money actually get, like, there's so many ways to do it. And that was my next thing on my list here, is like, how can you collaborate with another business, or how can you start? Literally, it's like reaching out to them, right? Hey, we should do something together. Yeah, I do this all the time, because with our retreat company, we always like want to collaborate on the gift bags for the women. So it's always like very clearly laid out. Here's our ask. We would like 10 pairs of earrings. We will give you 10, like a post and a story and a spot on our website, like whatever that, photos, whatever that is. And what's the value of this and what's the value of this? Do they match? Exactly. Close enough anyways.
Yeah.
But I think you just have to believe enough in your product and what you're doing that you are deserving of collaborating. And then once you can get past that, then you can just reach out to anybody. And like, who cares if they ghost you? Who cares if they say no? Like, who cares?
Exactly. And I think too, it's important, like the follow through, because I've had people that got to do the follow through. Like if you're doing those posts, you're doing those posts on the day you say, because I've had it's never happened to me personally, but I've had a few other friends that have done collabs, and like the person's supposed to do a whatever on a certain date, and like they don't do it, and then it becomes a drawn out thing. And so make sure if that's a contract, like do a contract, or if that's a whatever you got to do, and it's not to put fear that like I don't think you're going to do this. It's just for both people to have everything laid out, and then you both follow through.
Yeah. Mackenzie, that's so exactly right, because it just protects the relationship and it protects your reputation. Like if you're not following through, and say you're not following through because you have ADHD or something and you forgot, like if you pop those dates in your Google Calendar, I like pop every single date in my Google, like I already put in the date that now that this is released, like I put in today, like this is happening today, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is too, it could not be a malicious thing. It could be a accidental forgot. People use apps to post. The app doesn't work. Like literally these things happen. And if you're doing something with someone to be mutually beneficial, you want to make sure it's mutually beneficial.
And say sorry if you screw up. Don't be defensive. Just say, just own it. Like people respect you as a business owner so much if you're honest, even if it's to your detriment. Like you're like, I effed up. Like that's on me. Oh yeah, totally.
And everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does not matter. There's been time. I did a whole customer service episode, I don't know, a few episodes back now. I don't know when this is airing again, but and it's like one of my staff, we accidentally charged a customer twice. Like the debit machine didn't work, but it actually did work. They thought it didn't, and then charged them again. And I literally phoned that customer. I was like, I'm so sorry, we screwed up. I already refunded you because you were double charged. Like I already refunded you. I'm going to give you a gift card. Like, I feel so bad.
Goodness, you're amazing. That's amazing.
But the thing is, you want that was a customer for me, but whether that's a customer or you and I are doing something together and I'm like, I messed up. I totally screwed up on this. I can't do it, or whatever it is, just being that honest and vulnerable to the situation. Like we're all humans. It happens. But just owning up to it is going to get you so much farther than not.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Yeah.
How do you know who to collaborate with, or what should be important when you're looking for someone to collaborate with? What should be an important thing to look for, to ask?
I think that you have to know your values. Like you have to know as a business owner what's important to you. Like is local important to you? Is organic important to you? Is environmental important to you? Like which businesses align with you in that way? And what are your values? Find another company that has your same values. Probably the ones you're following. Probably the ones you're already following would be great. And then find one you have like a crush on. Like I'm like go big. Like reach out to the one you're like, I am so crushing over this brand. Like, I'm just going to ask them and reach out to like 10 if you need 5.
Oh yeah, exactly. Triple the amount of people to ask before you. It's true though, right? And I think you're 100% on the mark there when you say similar values, because you have to be aligned with these people. Like there's nothing worse than seeing two businesses work together that you're like, what the hell do these two companies have to even, they're not the same. And it's like they probably met at a networking event and were like, we should work together, but didn't think through, you guys don't align with each other. It doesn't make sense. Like it has to make sense, right?
Yeah. Like what's the connection? And what is the connection you're telling people? Like with even with you and I, it's like female business owners from the same hometown, similar upbringing, like these similarities between us. Maybe there's different takes on certain things, but overall it's like a very sensible collaboration. And I love that we are able to share. My favorite part is just that my mind just goes crazy. I'm like, oh my goodness, after this, I get to like share Mackenzie and like our story with like my followers and the same. No one would know that we have this connection.
No, most people don't. anything. You're like Facebook friends with somebody, and a friend from like Calgary is like, how do you know so and so?
Yeah, I
You're
love
like, oh,
that.
we grew up together. They're like, what? I didn't know that. Like, it's just total random, or we work together, or so, like, I don't know, university, whatever it is, a previous job, right? It's
Yeah.
the world is very small. I had a listener from the UK message me and say, I just started listening to a podcast, and one of her friends was a guest on the podcast, but she's like, but I love your lessons and and the people you're interviewing. And like, I had no connection to her, but now I do. Like,
Yeah.
we're Instagram friends, which really is a strong friendship. But you know what I mean? It's like it introduced me to a person that lives in a different continent that I would never have been exposed to because her friend was on and she saw it on her social media, and now she's a listener every week. Like, it's just crazy how that works. Yeah.
And one day you might meet her. I just got to meet one of my Instagram friends that we were only through Instagram and coaching and stuff, but I'd never met her face to face. And it was just the coolest experience to like, I was like, and you know, I'm so like touchy. And I was just like, can I just like touch your face? Like, this is so amazing that I'm seeing you in real life.
Yeah,
so
I know. It's crazy. I'm taking a course through my daytime job. It's all virtual. And the course leaders are all in Calgary. And we were at a conference last week in Saskatoon, and they were there. And I walked by, and then I was like, wait a minute. Because I just like, I mean, I recognize them, but I've only seen them on these courses every week for 2 hours. We meet. And I was like, hey, it's Mackenzie. They're like, hey. And we like, it was so funny because like we never met, but it's like we know each other. I see them every week for 2 hours. They know my job. They know what I do. They know what I'm working on. Like, it's a very like intimate kind of relationship, but you'd never met them. And that was so cool to like meet them in real life.
I do find that I'm actually quite impressed with how connected I feel to people over virtual. When I can see their face and we're talking, I'll see someone and I'm like, have I met you in real life or not? I feel like I have, but like I haven't.
Yeah.
I feel very connected with people through this, even though I know some people say, oh, it's, you know, it's not the same. I don't like it. I'm like, I don't know. I still connect quite deeply with people over Zoom.
Yeah, I do too. I think too, because it's my life. Like, I work remotely. Right. I do a podcast. Like, this is what it is for me. But I will say, when I go to my office in Saskatoon, where the company I work for is, it's really nice to see people in real life. But I don't like miss it when I see them on the computer every day. Like, I have meetings with them like all the time. So I don't like miss the office, but when I'm there, I really appreciate it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally think that. Like, we run the Well hybrid. We have women in other, you know, in Toronto and Vancouver and members and stuff. And we love that we can all meet up virtually once a month at our events, but we love that in person, we can connect with each other in person in those cities too.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a nice to have both.
Yeah, a good mix for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Another area I want to go into is feminine business principles. And I know that we kind of like messaged a little bit and chatted about this, but what are feminine business principles? Because I know a lot of people are going to be like, what is she talking about? Let's just talk about that.
There's actually like 12 feminine business principles that were developed by sister.is. If you go to sister, like if you want to include it in the notes, sister.is is where you can find them all. And we have adapted. So the Well has kind of taken but created our own, but kind of based loosely on these. And the founder said, please take them. I want you to use them. I want people to understand feminine business principles. So the word feminine gets a really bad rap because it's like feminist and like no one likes a feminist, right? But like I do. Anyways, the patriarch and the matriarch, right? So that's like ultimately what we're talking about. And if you think about the past hundreds and hundreds of years, most business in North America and across, you know, continents too, is done in more of a masculine energy, more of a masculine. So even women have adopted and kind of leaned more into their masculine traits in order to function in business, which is mainly ran under sort of these principles. So there's nothing wrong with patriarch. Like, well, there's patriarch if you think of it as having power over someone, is like not healthy to ever have really power over somebody else. Right. But in terms of like masculine business principles and feminine, it's sort of the masculine tends to lean more towards like all for one kind of competition. Feminine tends to lean towards collaboration, more holistic. So a lot of the things we talk about, values-based business, boundaries, your identity, experimentation. These are all like out of the 12. I'm not going to name them all for you because I'm not remembering it right now.
No, that's
But
good.
it's things like the myth of meritocracy. I'm saying that wrong. Like the idea that equal opportunity for all, it's actually not equal opportunity for all. There's actually people born in refugee camps in Africa, and it's actually not an equal opportunity for them as it is for me born here in Canada as a white woman.
That's right.
So
That's right.
it's just a completely different way to look at business. And we are actually going to call them, because we're moving into a new thing in January where we have a whole 12-month course that of the well business principles. So rather than calling it feminine, because we know that working with corporate world and these different worlds, they're not ready yet, and that's okay. We're going to talk about it as the Wells business principles. So, we start with values. I love experimentation. I love the idea of like using money, like how money can change society, especially when it's like brought into the hands of more women and used more in a feminine way, which is much more they look at, women tend to look at the community, or the feminine energy tends to look more at the community and like generosity. So those are the kind of an overview of the principles, but we want to like dive into them teaching. We're really excited. There's no one really doing that right now.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating to me because I think it's so important. And if you look at business 50 years ago and then today, how much it's changed and how many more women there are in business leadership roles, entrepreneurs, everything. It's important, right? It's just a part of our society that we need to include in business.
Yeah. And men, like these principles are not for women. They're for everybody.
Everybody.
Men as well need to, just like women have been operating in their masculine for hundreds of years in business, men can lean into their feminine and they will love it. Like it is a completely different way of working, and it's so much more healthy. You avoid burnout, you're not alone, your stress levels go down. We know stress is like the number one reason we get disease. We can bring those things down if you're operating more. If at least let's try for 50-50. Maybe we could try for 50-50. I feel like that's kind of how we were created in the world, to be able to operate out of both our masculine, feminine in a balance. So maybe we can just try to get corporate world in a balance. Listen, have a challenge on my hands. It's okay.
I think the thing too is I like how you mentioned the holistic part, because at the end of the day, we're all one being. Like I am one being. So if my career path, whether that's I'm an employee, an entrepreneur, whatever, if it is causing me so much stress, anxiety, issues in my life, do you think I'm going to be a good mom or a good wife or a good friend? No. Right? It impacts everything. And we look at ourselves as like, well, that's my job, but this is me. But guess what? It's not. You're one person. You're one. Right?
It's like when people used to think like the brain and the body weren't connected. The brain is actually a part of the body.
Part of the body.
The mind is like in the body.
Yes. So, I mean, it just goes back to that. Like, if you're not healthy, recharging, happy, whatever it is that you need, nothing's going to be good. Your business is not going to be good. Your relationships are not going to be good. Your health is not going to be good.
No. And how even if you think of bigger picture environment and how you spend your money, it's so important to like be really aware of where you're spending your money, and are you spending your money within your values, and are you making change with your money? Because women really do control. If you think of in the household, we do control the majority of the money and the money decision making, like groceries, kids' clothing, activities. We're really doing these big decisions. So, and we're so great at it. Like, let's just get more money in the hands of women.
Yeah, agreed. And men, we love you. Sorry, this is not a diss to guys listening.
No.
We love you, but agreed.
It's all about balance. It's not balanced right now. So for me, it's all about pushing the opposite direction so we find a balance.
I agree fully. Do you have a most important lesson you can share that you've learned over the years that you would tell maybe your younger self, or tell someone that's just coming into business?
Yeah. You can trust yourself. You know things that are true, and stop ignoring them. They're there, they're in you. When you know something and someone disagrees with you or questions you, or you second guess yourself, generally that first thought was true and it was right. And the sooner you can just get back to that, because I feel like women start in their 20s and they get really convinced through motherhood and all these things that they're wrong and that they can't make powerful decisions and they don't know their own truth. And then they enter their 40s and they're like, shit, I knew, like, why didn't I just trust myself in my 20s?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a huge generational shift, and they are trusting, younger people are trusting themselves now. But I would say you can trust what you know.
Yeah, I like that. And that's, no one's ever said that before. So I appreciate a fresh take on that question. Anything you wish you had known? This is a hard question.
No, I just think I wish I had known how smart I am and that I don't have to be afraid and that I can speak up and use my voice and I don't have to hide myself.
That's awesome.
I wish I'd known, like, and I knew that pretty good, Mackenzie. Like, my parents are like really champions. So I can't even imagine people who haven't had that, how much less they would feel like.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, because I came from a very similar family and background, and like literally I said to my dad, I'm going to start a business. He's like, good for you. Not like, no, you're not, right? It was like, yeah, you should. What are you going to do? You know, and so I also appreciate that. But I do agree that, like, if only you could tell yourself 20 years ago what you know now. I mean, we know that's not going to happen, but imagine where we'd be now if that was the case.
And it's okay to change your mind, and it's okay to do something different, and don't let people control you. It's just all those things, you know, like, just, it's all about trusting yourself. I think
stand up for what you believe in and what you know is right.
Yeah.
I feel like you might be learning some of these lessons if you pick up our book that we're in.
I really feel like you're going to need the Conversations Over Coffee book, volume 3.
Yes, volume 3.
It's purple.
It might not be out yet, or it might be. I'm not sure, but we'll post on our social media.
Yeah.
Tammy, where can people find you? Because I know they're going to want to learn more about your businesses. What's the best place for them to search you out?
The best place to find me is Instagram, and just go to The Happy Creative. My handle is _The Happy Creative. It's all my businesses are listed under there, and that's where I am the most of the time. And
of course, following our social media, we're going to be tagging Tammy as well. So you're going to be able to find her there. Thank you so much, Tammy. This was fun. I loved having you on.
I loved being here.
Thank you so much. For everybody listening, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Winning. Be sure to subscribe to get all of our new episodes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, and leave a rating and review wherever you listen to Winning. To catch all of the latest from us, you can follow Winning Podcast on Instagram at winning_podcast, Facebook at Winning Podcast, and on Twitter at Winning Pod. Winning was created and is produced by me, Mackenzie Kilshaw. Music created by Summer Furby. Editing by Seth Armstrong. Special thanks to Shauna Foster for voicing our opening. And of course, a huge thank you to this episode's guest. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.